All right, let's take a quick look back in history. On this day, September 9th, 1997, the retail revolution in public markets took one of its most significant turns when the Chicago Mercantile Exchange introduced a new futures contract based on the Standard & Poor's 500. Now, to be sure, such a futures contract already existed, but at a multiple of 500 times the cash-based S&P, speculating on the price direction of the S&P meant you would have to commit a minimum notional value of 500 grand with a margin requirement of roughly 25 grand for one single contract. That was fine for deep-pocketed institutions, but for individual investors, that was a price far out of reach. The CME, it figured it can generate business by offering a bite-sized version of that contract. Enter the E-mini S&P futures. Initially, they were about 1/10 the size of the benchmark S&P futures contract. And even more importantly, instead of relying on physical pit traders to fill those mini orders, the buying and selling would be done electronically over the internet, hence the E in E-minis. Roughly 6,580 contracts swap hands on day one by the close, but that number would slowly grow over time and in a big way. And that brings us to our question of the day. What was the biggest volume day for the S&P E-mini futures? While there have been big spikes around the pandemic in 2020 and the credit crisis in 2008, the most active day was on August 9th, 2011, amid a rebound rally in stocks coming off a 7% plunge that occurred the day earlier in the aftermath of a downgrade of the U.S. government's AAA credit rating. Today, about 1.5 million contracts swap hands on average each day, or about $80 billion worth. That eclipses all other futures contracts, all other ETFs out there. Nothing comes close. The contract has become so dominant that the old, larger S&P futures contract was eventually abandoned altogether in 2021. And these bite-sized contracts, meant for retail traders, are now the de facto standard across the industry, large and small. Its liquidity unparalleled.